What if I told you one single dinner cost more than a giant mansion, more than a whole collection of supercars, and even more than what some people earn in their entire lifetime? Sounds impossible, right? But it actually happened. We're talking about a $10 million feast, the most expensive meal ever. And here's the craziest part. People didn't just see it. They actually paid for it. But why would anyone spend that much money on food? And what could possibly make a meal cost that much? Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly how this unbelievable dinner became the most expensive meal ever. Let's start with a simple question. What is the most expensive meal ever? Now, this wasn't like going to a normal restaurant. You couldn't walk in. You couldn't book a table online. You couldn't even see a menu. This was a private, secret, invitation-only event. Only a few people in the entire world were allowed to attend. And those people? They were billionaires. But here's where things get interesting. They weren't going there just to eat food. They were going for something much bigger. An experience. Now you might be thinking, how can a meal cost $10 million? Let's break it down in the easiest way. Imagine planning the biggest, most amazing birthday party ever. Now multiply that by 1,000. Instead of one cook, you have the best chefs in the world flying in from different countries. Instead of normal food, you use ingredients that are super rare and super expensive. And instead of your house, you host it in a place that looks like a royal palace. That's what this meal was like. It wasn't just dinner. It was a once-in-a-lifetime event. Now let's talk about the food. Because yes, there was actual food. But not the kind you eat every day. These were some of the rarest and most expensive foods in the world. For example, there are special mushrooms called truffles. They grow underground and are very hard to find. Some of them can cost thousands of dollars for just a tiny piece. Then there's fish like bluefin tuna. This fish is so valuable that some have been sold for millions of dollars. And for this feast, the fish was flown across the world in just a few hours to keep it perfectly fresh. But wait, it gets even crazier. They used gold. Yes, real gold. Some dishes were covered in edible gold. Now gold doesn't really taste like anything. So why add it? Because it looks cool and shows how expensive the meal is. And this is where most people get confused. This meal wasn't just about taste. It was about showing luxury. Now imagine eating all of that with drinks. But not just any drinks. We're talking about some of the oldest and most expensive wines ever made. Some bottles were over 100 years old. Think about that. That means the drink was made before your great-grandparents were even born. And here's the shocking part. One single bottle could cost more than a luxury car. Yes, just one bottle. And at this feast, there were many bottles like that. Now this next part might surprise you even more. This meal didn't happen in a restaurant. It took place in a secret, private location. Imagine a giant mansion mixed with a royal palace. Everything was perfectly planned. The lighting, the music, the decorations, even how the food was served. Because when you're spending millions, you're not just paying for food. You're paying for a magical experience. Something that feels like a movie. Now let's talk about the people who actually attend something like this. Because this is not for regular people. Not even most celebrities. We're talking about billionaires. People who have so much money, they can buy almost anything they want. Business leaders. Royal families. Ultra-rich individuals. And here's the interesting part. They don't go because they're hungry. They go because it's exclusive. That means almost nobody else can go. And that makes it exciting. Now let's ask the big question. Is any meal really worth $10 million? For most of us? Absolutely not. You could buy houses, cars, travel the world, and still have money left. But for the people attending, it's different. They're not paying for food. They're paying for a story. They're paying for something they can talk about. Something no one else can experience. And that makes it valuable to them. And here's something really interesting. There's a reason expensive things feel special. It's called perception. The more expensive something is, the more people believe it must be amazing. Think about it like this. If you see two toys, one cheap and one super expensive, you might think the expensive one is better. Even if they do the same thing. That's how luxury works. Price becomes part of the excitement. Now you might be wondering, are there other expensive meals? Yes, there are. Some meals cost thousands. Some even cost tens of thousands. Luxury restaurants around the world serve food with rare ingredients and beautiful designs. But nothing comes close to this. The $10 million feast is on a completely different level. It's not just the most expensive meal ever. It's almost like a legend. But here's the truth most people don't realize. This meal wasn't created just for eating. It was created to be talked about. To shock people. To make headlines. To make people say, that can't be real. And look at us right now. We're talking about it. That means it worked. So remember the question from the beginning? How can one meal cost $10 million? Now you know the answer. It's not just food. It's the chefs, the rare ingredients, the drinks, the location, the people, and the experience all combined. It's like turning dinner into a once-in-a-lifetime event. And for some people, that's worth every dollar. If you thought this was crazy, wait until you see what billionaires spend money on next. Some of it makes even less sense than a $10 million dinner. So go ahead, hit like, subscribe, and stick around. Because trust me, you haven't seen anything yet.